So we had to do a fast blast of this car because, well, it's not very common. And I will say right up front, I like it. I can say that because I own it. This is my Saab 92X.
You know, the great thing about Subarus is that despite the mileage, they never seem to change. They don't feel like they're getting old. I mean, Saabarus. This is a Saab, you understand, but there really isn't anything that makes it Swedish.
And I'm always surprised when I talk to people about this car. Most people don't know it exists. Now, first off, let me acknowledge, this isn't much of a Saab. This is a badge engineering idea because of when GM owned Saab and also owned 20% of Fuji Heavy Industries. In the early 2000s, Saab did market research to decide that they needed an all-wheel drive, slight luxury hatch. Instead of taking 5 years to get through the product and actually build a car for themselves, GM just contacted Subaru and said, here's what we're going to do. For only 2 years, 2005 and 2006, Subaru was making the Saab 92X. From the A-pillars forward, the front panels are all changed. The rear hatch is changed. That's just the body panels. Everything else is Subaru parts.
I'd say the only other thing that really differentiates this car is it's a little bit quieter.
So this isn't a Saab in any of the normal ways. I mean, the key is not down here in the center. It doesn't have, hey, we used to come from jets. You can turn off all the lights on the gauges at night. It doesn't have that thing that some of the Saabs do. This is not really a Saab. It's just a Saab badge engineered product.
It's kind of a bastard child in so many ways. The interior is clean, simple. You could almost hose it out. I mean, it's not like a Jeep Wrangler, but it's decent.
I actually really like these seats. I've taken this car on a lot of fast canyon runs and a lot of long road trips, and they're pretty good for both. Unfortunately, this color, that is the insert for all the Saab 92X, is actually the worst material I've ever come across to keep clean. Water droplets from a water bottle will stain this. It's unbelievable how difficult it is to keep stains off this car, and I have a dog and a 5-year-old, so imagine how fun that's been. Now, I did put an upgraded stereo in this car, so I have streaming Bluetooth and I have a decent phone interface. I can drive an iPod. None of that was here, and it actually modernized the interior somewhat, but it's an 05 WRX. It's never going to be a great interior.
And so it doesn't have as, well, I guess, quite as cheap of a feeling. But here's the thing, speaking of cheap, these cars are not that expensive.
What's crazy is when these were new, they were about $3,000 more than the equivalent WRX. Now that they're used, you can find them for about $3,000 less because nobody really thinks about them. 5-speed manual with a fairly stiff clutch. Now, this, of course, if you're curious about problems, say it with me. It has all the same problems as a 2005 Subaru WRX, because I can't say it enough. That's what this car is. Now, this 92X is probably even more rare because this one is stock. So it starts with that about 230 horsepower that you found in the WRX of the same year, and almost equivalent torque. But yes, talk to Cobb or whoever you prefer, you can tune this car very easily. I actually thought about tuning it. I left it stock because honestly, I got this car right about the time I became a father, and the money always needed to go somewhere else.
There's a lot I like about this car. There really is. The visibility is fantastic. The Saabaru, as we affectionately call it, has the steering rack from the STI. So really it's a WRX, but it's got the steering rack that makes it sharper and tighter and a little bit more fun.
Some guys have even taken this and dropped an STI engine in it. That makes a beast right there. I do love this steering rack. I mean, it has completely spoiled me to a fast steering rack in a car. I mean, I get disappointed by a lot of other cars we drive because they just don't have this quick a steering rack.
It's very progressive through these corners. There's just not a dead spot to be found in the steering.
You can get some really good aftermarket sway bars for this car, and that would solve one of the big problems with the cornering, and that is just that it's got quite a bit of body roll.
I've been in Subarus that seemingly grip better than this car.
In fact, this still has its winter tires on, which means while it's fun, it doesn't really handle great.
It could be the tires. That could be a big part of the equation there.
Wow, understeer with winter tires.
But man, does this car beg you to throw it around. This whistly little thing. This is the car that will not die. I mean, you think Camrys are? Nuh-uh. It's this one.
If you know about it, you can get them much cheaper than the equivalent WRX. If you don't know about them, you don't even go looking, and so it keeps the prices down. Very helpful for me when I was buying, not as much when I'm selling.